I remember being with an adult and walking down an alley where there was a market, an outdoor market, and we were standing there, and I remember people coming into the alley with guns and shooting everybody, and they were shooting, machine guns waist high, and because I was so tiny, it didn't hit me, but everybody around me was dead. And I just remember kind of the silence after that, and then the screams of those that found the dead.
That would not be the first time that Thuy Wise would escape death. On April 4th, 1974, after the city of Saigon fell, Thuy's mother put her on board the first U.S. military plane on what was known as Operation Baby Lift. That plane would later crash.
Unknown to her, it was full, and so they took me off that plane and put me on the plane the next day. But she was notified that I had died.
The new plane would take Thuy to the Pacific Northwest, where she was adopted by a Christian couple, and she began her new life in America.
I remember learning how to play tag and learning how to, play kickball and things like that I'd never done, and being able to laugh, because in Vietnam it was so, things were scary, bombs were always going off, gunfire was going off all the time. You just never knew from day to day, what was gonna happen or if you were gonna eat, and so all of a sudden I had food on the table and I had, clothes and I had friends and I could learn how to play and there was no danger.
26 years later, Thuy made her first trip back to Vietnam, where she was reunited with her birth mother.
Just the process of going back was very traumatic. Meeting her was probably one of the worst traumas I've had in my life because I didn't remember her at all. I've completely blocked her from those first 5 years. They lived not far from where that shooting happened. That fear that I had as a toddler, walking down that alley. And so I brought that back. So I was even worse emotionally when I came back.
To deal with the trauma, Thuy took a class on deep healing where she learned how to face her pain. She returned to Vietnam in 2009.
We walked back into that alley. We walked back to the orphanage where I lived, back to the house where I lived, and then the last place we walked to was the airport. And at the airport, God gave me this vision of an angel taking my hand and walking me down off that plane that crashed, and then walking me up the stairs the next day. And he just kind of said, I have a purpose for your life, and I've always been here. And it was like this huge load came off my shoulders that I didn't even know, was there.
Returning to Vietnam again in 2015 with her husband Troy brought things full circle for Thuy.
Going with someone who loves me and going back and having him see the places that I've been and the places that I started out, and having him see that side of my family, one, helped him understand me a little bit more, but two, helped me to understand that, I can leave that there and come home and still have someone that loves me. And so that caused a lot of healing. Spending time with my mom with him, was really great, and just that time, for all three of us to get to know each other better this trip was really, really amazing for me.
Today, Thuy has made it her mission to give back and help others discover their purpose through her work as a mentor and a coach.
My goal in life is to help people find a purpose because, until then, I didn't realize that God had a purpose for all of us and that he has a reason for all the things that we've been through, and everybody's experience can help someone else. And so, I speak on that, and I mentor kids and mentor people who are going through traumas. I ended up spending 2 years coaching soccer all over Africa, actually. So I was Rwanda, Uganda, Ethiopia, South Africa, all over the place, and just using soccer as a way to reach children that are in these situations that I grew up in, either refugee camps or, poverty levels that most people have never seen, And so I used that to build friendships, and it was like God showed me that there was a purpose for what I had been through, because I could reach these kids and talk to them, and I understood where they're coming from, you know. When I came back to the US, I wanted to keep using soccer. So I've coached soccer for many, many schools. I referee, and I use soccer here as a way to mentor kids. If we can't help each other, then who's gonna do it, you know? And so God's given us, you know, gifts and talents. And so whatever it is you love to do it. Do it for God. It can be the smallest thing, it can be the biggest thing, but God will show you what your passion is and what your love is, and do it.